Senator McCain, thank you very much. Senator Obama.
You know, a lot of you remember the tragedy of 9/11 and where you were on that day. And, you know, how all of the country was ready to come together and make enormous changes to make us not only safer, but to make us a better country and a more unified country. And, you know, President Bush did some smart things at the outset, but one of the opportunities that was missed was when he spoke to the American people, he said, go out and shop. That wasn't the kind of call to service that I think the American people were looking for. And so you know, it's important to understand that I think the American people are hungry for the kind of leadership that is going to tackle these problems, not just in government, but outside of government. And let's take the example of energy, which we already spoke about. There is going to be the need for each and every one of us to start thinking about how we use energy. I believe in the need for increased oil production. We're going to have to explore new ways to get more oil, and that includes offshore drilling. It includes telling the oil companies that currently have 68 million acres that they're not using, that either you use them or you lose them. We're going to have to develop clean coal technology and safe ways to store nuclear energy. But each and every one of us can start thinking about how can we save energy in our homes and in our buildings. And one of the things I want to do is make sure that we're providing incentives so that you can buy a fuel-efficient car that's made right here in the United States of America, not in Japan or South Korea. Making sure that you are able to weatherize your home or make your business more fuel efficient. And that's going to require effort from each and every one of us. And the last point I just want to make, I think the young people of America are especially interested in how they can serve. And that's one of the reasons why I'm interested in doubling the Peace Corps, making sure that we are creating a volunteer corps all across this country that can be involved in their community, involved in military service, so that military families and our troops are not the only ones bearing the burden of renewing America. That's something that all of us have to be involved with, and that requires some leadership from Washington.
Senator Obama, as we begin very quickly our discussion period, President Bush, you'll remember last summer, said that Wall Street got drunk. A lot of people now look back and think the federal government got drunk, and in fact the American consumers got drunk. How would you as president try to break those bad habits of too much debt and too much easy credit, specifically across the board for this country, not just at the federal level, but as a model for the rest of the country as well?
Well, I think it starts with Washington. We've got to show that we've got good habits, because if we're running up trillion-dollar debts that we're passing on to the next generation, then a lot of people are going to think, well, you know what, there's easy money out there. It means, and I have to, again, repeat this, it means not just looking at the spending side, but also at the revenue side. I mean, Senator McCain has been talking tough about earmarks, and that's good. But earmarks account for about $18 billion of our budget. Now, when Senator McCain is proposing tax cuts that would give the average Fortune 500 CEO an additional $700,000 in tax cuts, that's not sharing a burden. And so part of the problem, I think, for a lot of people who are listening here tonight is they don't feel as if they are sharing the burden with other folks. I mean, you know, it's tough to ask a teacher who's making $30,000 or $35,000 a year to tighten her belt when people who are making much more than her are living pretty high on the hog. And that's why I think it's important for the president to set a tone that says all of us are going to contribute, all of us are going to make sacrifices, and it means that, yes, we may have to cut some spending, although I disagree with Senator McCain about an across-the-board freeze. That's an example of an unfair burden sharing. That's using a hatchet to cut the federal budget. I want to use a scalpel so that people who need help are getting help, and those of us like myself and Senator McCain who don't need help aren't getting it. That's how we make sure that everybody is willing to make a few sacrifices.
Senator McCain.
Well, you know, nailing down Senator Obama's various tax proposals is like nailing Jell-O to the wall. There's been 5 or 6 of them, and if you wait long enough, there'll probably be another one. But he wants to raise taxes. My friends, the last president to raise taxes during tough economic times was Herbert Hoover, and he practiced protectionism as well, which I'm sure we'll get to at some point. You know, last year, up to this time, we've lost 700,000 jobs in America. The only bright spot is that over 300,000 jobs have been created by small businesses. Senator Obama's secret that you don't know is that his tax increases will increase taxes on 50% of small business revenue. Small businesses across America will have to cut jobs and will have their taxes increase and won't be able to hire because of Senator Obama's tax policies. You know, he said some time ago, he said he would forgo his tax increases if the economy was bad. I got some news, Senator Obama. The news is bad. So let's not raise anybody's taxes, my friends, and make it be very clear to you, I am not in favor of tax cuts for the wealthy. I am in favor of leaving the tax rates alone and reducing the tax burden on middle-income Americans by doubling your tax exemption for every child from $3,500 to $7,000, to giving every American a $5,000 refundable tax credit and go out and get the health insurance you want, rather than mandates and fines for small businesses, as Senator Obama's plan calls for. And let's create jobs and let's get our economy going again, and let's not raise anybody's taxes.